Okay, so welcome to this video about ChatGPT. My name is Keith Hayden. You probably don't care what I'm about or what I'm doing, but I'll tell you a little bit anyway. I'm a writer slash creator. I do a lot of different things, but I'm very interested in technology and how it can help us create more and do things more efficiently and faster in the future. So I'm doing this training for a few of my friends here, and I wanted to share it with you on YouTube or on the internet or wherever you're watching this, because this is something big. I feel like this is an iPhone moment. Um, I feel like this technology is huge, and I'm not just trying to hype it up. I've used it. I've used it to outline books. I've used it to write some music. I've used it to do a lot of different things. And I want to share 3 different broad use cases for this technology that I've come up with since I've been using it. So it's only been about a week since it's been out. It's still very new, but the word's already gotten out. The cat is already out of the bag, and I can already tell its performance is like dipping because there's so many, like, millions of people using it already. So by the way, subscribe to the channel, blah, 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 all that shit. If you want to subscribe, whatever. So if you don't want to, then don't. All right. So I'm going to do a lot of screen sharing because I'm a teacher by nature, and I think that's the best way to show you how it works. So let me share my screen. Okay, so what is ChatGPT? We were just looking this up before we started this Zoom, and we found out it stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. So all that is basically to say that if you talk to it, it talks back as if it were a very, very, very smart person. So that's the cool thing about ChatGPT that kind of separates it from the traditional Google search. Google search and other search functions and things like that, services, it's basically you search for something and it just pulls up an inventory, a list of everything that's on the internet or everything that it sees. ChatGPT is actually coming up with new things as you are talking to it, and that gives it some pretty sick capabilities to enhance your work and make it a lot faster and potentially a lot better if you want. So the 3 use cases, the broad use cases that I've come up with are the technical use case, the work use case, I call it, and then the creative use case. So I'm going to touch on all 3 of these in short order, and then we'll talk about some best practices, how I've found to get the most out of this type of technology. And then I'll give my opinion, which most people don't probably care about, but I'm gonna give it anyway, about what I think like the future of this technology is going to be. So let's start with the technical use case. This is the use case that if you've probably heard of ChatGPT in the last week since it first came out, that you've probably seen people, I was going to say creaming their pants, but I just said it. So there it is. You've seen people really getting excited about this capability. Its capability to write code. That's right, write code as if it were a software developer. Now, I'm not a developer. I'm not an engineer, but I have done 100 days of code, and I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last week. Anyway, point is that I can't do a lot with this technical stuff, but I know enough to know when something's doing a good job with it. So let's use this example of generate. I'm just going to tell it to generate something simple. Generate. Got an extra S in there. So we've got our fictional app. I want to watch, it's Christmas time at the time of this recording. I want to watch a random Christmas movie. I just want some JavaScript code to give me an app. And then here's what it's going to do. Let's see what it does. I can already tell. See, that's how you know it's already, the performance is already dipping, because usually it's pretty fast, but now it's slowing down. And so now it's going to give me a code. So those of you non-devs out there are probably like, what the hell is this? Like, why is this? What is this parlor trick? But if you're a dev, you're you might be a little impressed, if not a little bit like, what the hell? It's pretty crazy. And you can see it's defined this array here. It's got a function there. It's getting the variable out, and then it's going to output the movie. So of course, if you wanted to make an actual app, you'd have to, do a lot more stuff, but this is like a basic place to start more than an idea, right? So I feel like this is the strong use case, and you can see you can copy this code and put it in your IDE and go to town, right? You can update it, you can do whatever you want. So I feel like this is new stuff, right? Previous stuff that's come out, like other AI codexes and stuff that helps generate code, it's been like, okay, it's more like completion. It's not generating code from text commands. This is very new and very cool. So that's the technical use case. If you're a dev, or if you're not a dev, you can learn how to do it, right? Because look, it gives you these comments in JavaScript comments. Hey, this is why I'm doing this, a function to generate the random Christmas movie, and then print the movie, and then give the random number or the random place in the array, right? Pretty strong stuff, right? So that's the technical use case. Now I want to talk about the second use case, which is the work use case. What do I mean by work? A lot of our work today involves sending emails, writing reports, doing summaries, outlining stuff for your boss or whatever, or for yourself, if it's like a talking point, or writing a script for a YouTube video or something like that. It's these types of, grunt work that it takes time to do. It's not hard, but it just takes time to do. ChatGPT can really lighten your load here when it comes to this kind of work. And let me show you. So okay, so I want to create an outline for a presentation. This is kind of a typical type of teaching, right? My background's in teaching as a math teacher, so this is where my mind went. Teaching algebra to high school math kids, like what's some best practices I could talk to other math teachers about, or newer math teachers. And we can see this is, in no time at all, ChatGPT has generated an outline for me, like a very, I can go through these real quick. Developing, okay, good, using technology, thinking critically, conclusion, good. And then I can take a little bit further. Elaborate on the sub bullets. Good idea. Thanks, Steven. That is true. Let's try that. So it's going, so as you can see, I just got you can't see the chat, but I got a thing from somebody in attendance, was like, insert a joke into the outline, right? Because the outline, what ChatGPT will give you is pretty vanilla. It's pretty plain. It's not a lot of personality, and we'll talk a little bit more about that once we get to the last use case. But let's say, and this is another good thing about ChatGPT is that it will remember what you put in, what you entered into your chat. It will remember. So I don't need to go back, even though I did something completely different here. I could say, so now we want some corny jokes in the presentation outline. Let's see what it comes up. According to jokes to get, why was the math book sad? Because it had too many problems. Why was the math test so hard? Because it had too many X's and not enough Y's. These are bad. Why was the calculator so popular? Because it could add, subtract, multiply, and even divide, and it never complained. I don't get that one. Why was the math teacher always smiling? Because he had a lot of equations and he loved to. Oh, these are terrible. Okay, so I saw this the other night because I was showing this to my wife, and she was like, "The sense of humor is off, right? It doesn't really have one." And there's certain things that if you try and get it to do something, it will be like, "I cannot do this. I'm an AI." Until you can easily circumvent it's "I cannot do this" thing. We won't go into that here into this video. I'm sure there's other videos about how to do that. You can go find them. Final corny joke. Why was the math lesson so easy? Because the teacher had all the right angles. Bruh. These are bad. But you can see, like, that's the difference, right? Like, it took what I had, and then it remixed it and added that in. And that is a good transition to the final use case, which is the creative use case, which is the use case that I've spent the most time. And let me stop share and show you my entire screen. It's the use case that I've spent the most time in, and I think this is huge for creators, for just anybody who uses the internet, right? So I have here, I wrote a draft of a fiction book in one day using ChatGPT. Of course, the book is not perfect and it still needs a lot of revision, and it's just a draft, but it is a complete draft in one day. Like, wrap your head around that. Like, the time that it takes to write a novel, even a short one, is weeks, months. Even if you have a good idea in mind, it could take some time. And here we go. It's done in one day. Now, here's what I started with. Help me write a science fiction novel that will appeal to Japanese audiences, because if you don't know, I live in Japan, and so I want to write something that will appeal to Japanese readers. So this is what it came up with. This is a screenshot from a couple of days ago, but research science fiction authors, include folklore, all these other things. So a big part of the creative process, and anybody that creates anything, and maybe you're a creator too watching this, is the ideas tend to come to you, and they come in like little bits and pieces. They may come in a dream, on a walk, whatever, while you're actually working on something else. The challenge for creating something, I've found, is bringing everything together in a coherent way and organizing it to where you can actually take action and it can actually take some form. And that's the same, no matter if it's an app or a song, composing a song, or if it's writing a book, or if it's writing a blog post or a Twitter thread, whatever. That organization has to happen at some point. To me, that is the strength of ChatGPT, or technology like it, right? Because it does the organization for you. It's already organized. You just need to select what you want. And so here was something else. I did a description for one of these characters in the book that I wrote, generated a physical description for Takashi, beginning with the following traits: lifts weights but likes books, messy hair. So I made that up, and then you can see the algorithm did the rest. It kind of used its model to draw that to its logical conclusion. He was the kind of guy who loved to lift weights, but he also had a soft spot for books. He had messy hair, unruly strands falling into his eyes, and perpetual stubble on his chin. Despite his rugged appearance, he had thoughtful, intelligent eyes. He was known for a strategic mind and keen attention to detail. So it just kind of filled in all those gaps. And that's a huge time saver, right? Especially if you're doing this for an entire book. So I wanted to use a quick example to show you in real time of me doing this. So, and I already thought of the example before time and to save some time, but let's try this. Okay, so we've got a story about a hostile AI, and I said the main character's name is Fred. And look at this. It's already said, title, The Rise of Fred. Okay, it's taking it already into a direction that I did not anticipate. Fred is a young programmer, and they're giving you this backstory. Da 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 da. It's basically written a book blurb, basically, for this novel, The Rise of Fred, right? And Fred, when it's active, it's clear that he's awesome. Okay, so this is a good starting point, right? Even this takes a lot of time to think through. This is something that I wouldn't probably write until I was done with the book, because I wouldn't have everything, all the what the story was going to be about. But you can get the idea. So let's take it a step further. Okay, so now we want a physical description. He's tall and lean. He's in his late 20s, piercing blue eyes, sharp jawline. I've noticed it does tend to like gravitate towards like, muscular men, slender women. It has these, and this is a debate for a talk for another video, but like these kind of biases are built in. So if you want to kind of flex that, you kind of have to throw in your own descriptions, right? You are what you eat. Exactly. Right. Yeah, you're right, Steven. So yeah, you've got to kind of flex these to get what you want. So let's try something else. Let's try. So now I want a character arc for Fred. Now we've got the synopsis of the story. We've got a physical description. We know more or less what Fred looks like. Let's get a character arc. So if you're not a writer, a character arc is basically like, how is the character going to change at the end of the story? Every story involves change in some way, right? Some of the arcs are long throughout an entire story, whether it's a book, movie, whatever. Some of them are very short. It may just be like a page. Fred's our main character, so it would be like the entire book or story. So let's see what they say. He learns the meaning of sacrifice and the power of selflessness. Okay, so that's not bad. That's not a bad place to start, and we could go back and tweak this to our taste and make it a little bit more relevant to the situation. So you kind of see the power in this as a collaborative tool for ideation, for refining, for organizing your ideas, all of the stuff that's outside of, or that includes the creative part of it. You can do this with whatever your creative thing is. And I don't care what you're creating, whether you're creating an app or you're doing a plan for a project, big project management thing or whatever. You have to create something. You need order, you need structure. And it doesn't have to be a fiction story. That's just the use case that I've used. But what will you create? I'm not sure, but the possibilities are pretty limitless with this. So I've talked about the 3 use cases. Now I want to talk about best practices. These are practices that I've found since I've been using it in the last week that have helped me get more of what I want out of this technology faster. So maybe they can help you as well. First is, 1, know what you want to create. You can just say, write me a book, write me an app or whatever, but it's just going to take a long time, and you need to get it down to where you refine what you're asking it to do. Just like if you asked another person, hey, help me start a business. What type of business do you want to start? Like, what do you want to sell? Do you have a market? What's your positioning? What's your background? These types of things matter. A regular person would ask those questions. ChatGPT won't ask you those questions, but if you know the answers to them, it's going to help you a lot more. 2, ask better questions, create better prompts. I mean, experiment with a lot of different prompts, experiment with a lot of different questions, especially tailored to what you want to create. I think that's the key. Even if you find somebody that, hey, these prompts work for me and this is what I got. I've noticed that with AI art generation as well. Like if you've played around with that, certain prompts just get better results. For ChatGPT, it's about asking better questions and writing better prompts to get better results as well. 3, For creative use, understand your process so you can guide the AI through it. So as you can see, I've got already kind of a flow since I've done this with a couple of different works of fiction. I've already got a flow to how I write fiction, even if I didn't have the AI. I kind of just make the outline and then I'll start writing chapters. And then as I write each chapter, as new characters come up in scenarios, then I'll elaborate there and then I'll move on. And then I make everything fit within my outline. That's how I write. Every writer will write different. You're going to do things different. Know that process so you can guide the AI through it and it'll be faster for you instead of just it giving you a bunch of random prompts and you don't know how to organize them as you get them out. 4, be prepared to tweak the output. Don't expect it to be, hey, oh, good, generated the code, done. Oh, good, generated the script, done. You're going to have to go back and refine it, especially if you're doing fiction. Oh, boy. ChatGPT, man, it does not understand subtlety very well. So, especially if you're trying to write in a certain style, like in the style of a certain author or just like your own style, you have your own style. Unless you train it on a lot of that stuff, it's not going to know. So be prepared to go back and change. 5, think outside the box. It's more than Google search. Like you can use it like a search right now, and it will give you similar results. But think beyond that. Think beyond just what is the name of this, and looking up like stuff you could look up in a dictionary or something like that. Think of making new things, remixing things. I've seen people taking old songs and remixing lyrics to them and things like that. Like, try different things. It's all about experimentation at this point. So think outside the box and you'll get some really cool stuff. And then 6, look for examples of specific use cases online. There's a lot of people, I've seen people use this to like write a whole text video game, like a choose your own adventure style video games where you can make decision trees and things like that. I've seen people use it to write a whole virtual machine. Like the uses are limitless. So go in and see how people have created stuff and then borrow those prompts and tailor it to whatever you want to create. I think that's the best way to go about it. Last thing I wanted to talk about is final thoughts, ChatGPT. Right now it's free. And it has been for the last week since it came out, but I don't think it's going to be free for very much longer. And you can see, right? I can tell I've been using it pretty much every day for the last week, and the performance is dipping. There's probably a ton of people using it, and I'm not sure their computation costs are through the roof. I don't even want to imagine how much it's costing. And they're going to have to pay for it somehow. This is the way it goes. So, but don't let that discourage you. Just in case you're watching this like sometime in 2023 or something like that. It's still 2022 right now. Don't let that discourage you. And here's why. The reason is this technology, just like AI image stuff was this year, it will get democratized. Somebody else will use the API to create something else, a spinoff that does the exact same thing, that is not as expensive or that may be even free, just like Stable Diffusion did with AI generation, Midjourney did with AI generation. Is Midjourney still free? I don't know if it is still free. But anyway, DALL-E, you have to pay. Stable Diffusion, you don't have to pay, It's still free, good, yeah. So that's what I see is happening. Like these and on the back end of ChatGPT, they give you access to the API. So if you know how to create an app, I'm not savvy enough to create an app or something, and you know how to make use of APIs, then you could make your own tailored solution using ChatGPT. And in fact, they encourage it. Like they say, here it is, like use it, You will have to pay for that on the back end though. You will have to pay for the computation to costs. And I think you get $18 worth of credit if you make an account now, like as of December 2022. I don't know if that's going to be the same when you're watching this in the future, but yeah, this technology is going to change. It's going to get better. Right now, this is still in beta. It's hard to believe this is a beta. but this is still beta, folks. So we've got yet a long ways to go. It's going to get better. It's going to get more refined. It's going to get faster. Maybe the day will come very soon to where you say, write me a New York Times bestseller, and boom. Oh, okay. Welcome, Mark. Welcome. Glad to have you, man. But yeah, maybe the day will come very soon. But I think the point is getting used to directing this type of technology, whether it's ChatGPT or something else down the line that comes out. I think it's going to be an important skill in 2023. Writing prompts. It was not already discussed. I should probably stop sharing the screen. I don't need to share anymore. But the technology is new, and get out there and experiment, have fun with it. I hope you enjoyed this video. My name is Keith Hayden. If you want to find my stuff, it's going to be in the description below. This is going to be on YouTube. I really love creating stuff. I love experimenting with technology. So I have a whole newsletter about it. It's called The Creative Futurist. If you want to check it out, it's going to be down there. You can follow me on Twitter at KH_author. Twitter is definitely the best place to follow me, because that's where I'm pretty much in semi-real time. When I test out this stuff or I make something new, I try and share like some insights, and my Substack as well. I have a Substack, and I got too much stuff. Just look in the description. You can find it there. All right. Thanks for watching this video, and I'm going to keep it rolling for any questions that people have, and maybe I can answer, maybe I can't.